For underdog excellence, the glass slipper has become one of the most celebrated traits of the NCAA tournament. Some say to be a Cinderella takes divine guidance or providence. And on Friday night, Pete Gillen's Friars flashed a knowing confidence. A sixth sense that is often a Final Four trademark. One of the last teams invited to the party, the Friars are hoping to be the last to leave. Friday, Arizona ripped the air with the tournament's most unexpected triumph. With Lute Olson's guidance, the young Cats' composure prevailed with a no-look, no-fear attitude. Arizona slammed shut the championship dreams of the Kansas Jayhawks. Both teams have taken their deserving bows. Now they need an encore performance to carry the slipper to Indianapolis.
Smart takes the shot. Indiana wins the championship.
There's the pass
to Laettner. If the shoe fits, wear it. Welcome to the Cinderella Regional. Some may know it as the Southeast Regional Final, where today the 10th seed in the Southeast, the Providence Friars, take on the number 4 seed, the Arizona Wildcats. The last piece to the puzzle. Kentucky, Minnesota, North Carolina, all reserved for Indianapolis. Only one spot remains open. Jim Nance, Billy Packer, welcome everyone. Billy, all 1 seeds set for Indianapolis. And what do you make of this matchup we have here?
Jim, Birmingham. What I think of is 1985, looking right out on this very court. Villanova, North Carolina. Villanova, an 8 seed, going nowhere. Hey, they not only went somewhere, they won the whole deal. It's going to be an interesting game today.
Well, Pete Gillen's Providence Friars 24-11 on the year. He's never been to the Elite 8, but he'll start this lineup with the first 3 names seniors: Crozier, Brown, Garces, a sophomore backcourt with Thomas and Shamgod. Lute Olson, he's taken Arizona twice to the Final Four. He also took Iowa back in '80. Michael Dickerson's the leading scorer on the season. Mike Bibby, the freshman, is their leading scorer in the tournament. With Bramlett really coming on in the NCAAs. All double-double performances in the first 3 tournament games. Dick Paparo, Tom Rucker, and David C. Day, the officials in the Southeast Final. Providence in the dark uniforms.
And Jim, you mentioned seniors. We've got a contrast because Arizona does not have a senior on their squad.
Big East meets Pac-10.
Stole the tap.
And what a matchup we have today. But right now at point guard, but Shamgod guarded by Matt Simon.
Beautiful
Simon.
dish.
And the tip in for 2 by Garces.
Beautiful dish by Shamgod. Jim, what we're going to see today are 2 penetrating point guards, a sophomore and a freshman, as good as any 2 in the country at breaking down a defense.
Shamgod retrieves it. Now, instead of Simon, it's Bibby on Shamgod. Miles Simon was on him the first time down the floor.
But almost man for man, these are perfect matchups size-wise by both ball clubs.
Bibby inside Bramlett.
Picks up right where he left off against Kansas. Beautiful no-look passes. If you'll run and keep your eyes open, he'll put the ball in your hands.
Shamgod, an excellent penetrator. Driving past Bibby. Inside the Brown for the lay-in. Again, Shamgod able to get past Bibby in this case.
He explodes past. There is one big difference. I would say in quickness, they're about equal. But in strength, Shamgod has a big advantage. Bibby a much better shooter, however, so that keeps him honest.
Miles Simon with a 3-pointer.
There's that corkscrew rotation. Good running by Brown.
And a bucket at the other end. 6-5 Friars.
Excellent passing so far in this game, Jim. You don't see Dickerson get beat with speed very often. Boy, I love these matchups out here. Look at the size. Just about everybody equal.
Bramlett backing in on Garces. Bramlett for 2.
Will anybody stop the other club?
Fast pace. in the first 2 minutes.
And remember the great leaping ability by Davison. He's on Crozier, so when he goes up for that jump shot, he's going to have a hard time getting it off.
And a foul called on Bibby. So what do you make of this point guard matchup with Shamgat and Bibby?
Well, you have the #1 assist man of the Big East. You have Bibby, the freshman of the year in the Pac-10. You can look at their stats. Bibby, without question, a much better shooter than is Shamgat. I think Shamgat got a little bit of advantage in power.
Davis and Skies for Arizona.
Both teams releasing men, Jim. That time it was Miles Simon taking off on the missed shot. The straight man-to-man by both teams. As I said, the matchup's almost perfect.
Dickerson, you like that matchup?
Yeah, I really do.
Brown, Simon over Crozier. Davison, well, last touch by Providence.
Bennett Davison, a Californian, a little bit too anxious to put that back up.
Garces with a stress fracture in his leg, was limping on Friday night in the win against Chattanooga.
Jim, he doesn't seem to limp at the start of games, you know, and after a while I think it just, the pain just keeps wearing on him.
Dickerson with a 3. And a rebound by Thomas. Thomas, who hit 3 big threes down the stretch against the Mocs Friday night of Chattanooga.
Good double team help that time by Dickerson.
And got inside, lost control of it. But here comes Providence right back. Garces picked up the loose ball, got it to Brown for the basket.
Good quick hands by Thomas. Now let's check the defense. For the first time, Providence goes zone. They went zone on the out of bounds. They're in a 2-1-2. Garces down in the middle. Miles Simon recognized it and wants Bibby to come back out and get the ball. You don't see a cutter going through, Jim, so really Arizona doesn't know whether it's a matchup yet or whether it's a true zone. And there's a nice over-the-top pass.
And a push from behind called on Brown. Derek Brown, 6'6" senior from Brooklyn, New York. And did the Cats shut down Kansas on Friday night on a couple of key areas?
Yeah, Jim, you know, whenever you have a Cinderella area, you have things that don't go according to form. And there you have the 3 seniors, Pollard, Vaughn, and Haas, who have been so outstanding at Kansas all year long. Matter of fact, for their entire careers. And the seniors just didn't get it done. And there's that 2-1-2 zone again.
Pass through the fingertips of Dickerson.
Pretty easy passes. You noticed when Kansas went to the 1-3-1 zone against Arizona the other day, Bibby just took advantage of them with great passes through the defense.
Crozier hasn't touched it until now.
Nice double down again. Good skip pass.
Thomas over Simon. And Bibby out of the pack.
Thomas should have rotated that ball. He had Brown open.
Bibby down the middle for the lay-in.
And here comes Shamgat on the run.
Charge.
Bad decision. A.J. Bramlett, who played the outstanding game against Pollard, came up with another outstanding play.
Bibby puts Arizona ahead by 1.
Jim, here's what we talk about. The ball on top, the hand on top of the ball. When the hand goes down this way, then you've got a palming situation. Both of these guards are so good at turning you over with a crossover. But look at where the ball is. Without question, that's a palm. We're going to see Shamgat and Bibby do that as well as any 2 people in the country. You can't guard a man if he's going to go ahead and palm like that.
I don't know about Bibby, but they won't make that call on God today.
They won't make it on either one.
Not on Palm Sunday. Look at the rebounding total.
This is kind of amazing because this has been the area in which Providence has been so outstanding to get themselves to this point in the tournament. And there goes the zone now. Arizona playing the 2-3 zone. They showed it once before, but with 3 subs in there, matching up with it.
Call against Harris of Arizona. And Crozier will come in. He's got an extra few seconds to rest on the bench out of the timeout.
And Jim, what may be taking place right here, quick substitution, but Pete Gillen, I'm sure, is wanting to take a quick look at the defense. Now it's straight man-to-man. And Arizona maybe just been matched up with them. Not the shot they want. Dickerson off and running.
3-on-3 though. Terry thought about launching the long one. Dickerson on Brown.
Brown doing a pretty good job with him. That's some matchup.
Terry front of the rim.
And you can see with Bramlett and Davison out of the game, Arizona not so interested in going inside to Edgerson. Becomes Dickerson offensive game. How about that? He altered his shot to get it over the top of him.
Terry almost stole it. He set the Pac-10 and school theft mark on the season, and he had a big night against Kansas defensively. Watch him manning up here against Corey Wright.
Nice hands.
Garces.
Oh, second bad pass by Dickerson. I realize he was off balance there, but he's got to be careful.
Terry with some nifty ball handling to escape Wright. Dickerson over the outstretched arm of Crozier.
Dickerson, who's had 5 30-point games this year, not hitting his outside shot, similar to what we saw against Michigan in their overtime loss up in Michigan this year.
Simon comes in.
Dickerson asked to come out. A signal that Dean Smith has created, most people using now. Nice smart play there by Simon, realizing it was going to be an odd bounce. Providence stays in there 2-3.
Bibby 3. All there.
I think Lute Olson's going to have to come back with some more firepower down inside because they reverted strictly to the perimeter game.
And Crozier doesn't get the roll, but he'll head to the line where he's deadly.
Number 1 free throw shooter in the Big East.
Had the 39-point game in the opening round win against Marquette. The Friars were underdogs in that game. Big underdog against Duke.
Jimmy was 15 for 15 on the line against Marquette. Puts him one behind the all-time record.
He had a good year, 90%, but he was no Paul Cluxton of Northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
All he did this year was make 91 of 91. Look at this.
And you know, Crozier missed 3 the other day. Very unusual. And one of the things that can hurt you in a game like this, he realizes how well he's being defended. You lose some concentration.
The 3 free throws he missed.
Here's a half-court trap. First time today, a 1-2-2 half-court trap by Providence.
3 free throws Crozier missed on Friday night. More than he missed in the last 13 games combined.
Notice now, Arizona recognizes they got their 2 starters back in. They go right to the inside game. Nice move by Lute Olson.
The big men at Arizona understand their roles here, don't they?
They really do, and so does Bibby, and in that case, Terry as well, and Simon. They've got scores in there now. Great man.
Davison on Crozier. Bibby reached in to jar it loose. Numbers to Zona. Behind the back to Simon.
Timeout, Pete Gillen. He wants to regroup.
Jason Terry finding Miles Simon coming in from a wing. Timeout, and the Cats are up 8.
Poor execution of defense by Providence. First man to be here, second man to be here. You've got a 3-man break going, and watch the great execution on the pass on the trailer. Terrific job by Terry. Good spacing by Arizona. Simon goes right over the top for there was nobody there to protect. Perfect pass, nice and soft. Look at that English coming up on that ball so that Simon had an easy ball to catch.
It amounts to a 25-17 Arizona advantage. Largest lead of the game, 8 minutes to go first half. Shamgod in and out.
That's the matchup I was interested to see if Dickerson would ever go over on him. So far, it wasn't really that necessary.
Simon, no look. Terry, 3.
Boy, Davison runs the floor so well. He gets back on Crozier. There's not going to be many opportunities for him to get an open look. There he is again, right in his face.
Brown shot altered by Terry, who got there quickly inside. Swatted away by Bennett Davison.
Jim, you know, you measure vertical leaps of a lot of players, but I think a guy who's quick off the floor. We're going to see a guy in the Final Four, Antoine Jamison from North Carolina, who has the same thing Davison has, is the fact that they not only can jump high, they get off the floor so quickly. They're not guarding Garces, so Bramlett's playing a one-man zone under the basket.
Foul on Crozier.
You know why? Frustrated he can't touch the ball. Providence is going to have to set some screens for him. There he is, trying to back his way in, and no question about the foul.
His first, fourth team foul. Bibby on the bench, so Terry continues to play the point.
Simon was looking for the lob behind the defense.
Davison off his knee. Providence doesn't go that deep, Billy, so it can be a problem if this game is up and down the floor. And
look at who, with Bibby out, it's Dickerson on Shamgar.
Shamgar, wraparound pass to Garza. What about that lack of depth?
Well, obviously it hurt any basketball team. Jim, you know, Coach Wooden, who won more championships than anybody, always used to talk about you need 6 guys, but he also had the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 10th guy if it ever.
21-27. Although Arizona's out rebounding the Friars by 8.
Jim, I think that 48% by Arizona is somewhat deceiving. Most of their points were scored early, and they were right from the inside or off the break. They are not shooting well from the perimeter. And they're going to be forced to. Now you see Providence changing their defense, going to a 1-3-1 half-court trap. First time they showed it today. Let's see if they stay in the 1-3-1.
So out of the under 4 timeout, Davison with the left hand. He's only getting better. It seems like every month of the season. Davison, who had 4 different high school coaches in 4 years.
And there was a case where Pete Gillen comes out of the timeout, wants to change things up defensively. I doubt if he'll stay with that 1-3-1, but you just want to show a different wrinkle.
Crozier, they call him for traveling. Number 34, 7-footer for Providence, actually 7'1", Dongo Njai, freshman from Senegal, in for Providence.
You see, Jim, they showed the 1-3-1 just one time. Now they put Njai right into the basket in the 2-3. Presents quite an arm span problem there, doesn't he?
Got the whole lane covered.
Yes, he does. Not a lot of size in there, bulk, but he sure has a wingspan. Against this defense, I'm surprised Arizona doesn't put somebody on a foul line. That's where it'll go.
And a whistle on Crozier. Let's go over to Craig James. Craig?
Well, what they've done, they put stitches or butterflies on his chin. But the key here is he does need stitches. They're going to wait until after the game. But if he starts bleeding, he'll have to come out of the ball game. That's what they've got to watch and be concerned with.
Well, Bramlett took a shot to the face right before that last timeout. Providence steals it.
Bibby thought Simon was looking at him.
Thomas. Unusual to see that pure a shooter miss by that much. 2:20 to go in the half. 2-point lead, Providence.
Pete Gillen has found a defense he likes, and that's that 2-3 zone. And so far, Bibby has not penetrated down the center and kicked out. There it is. That's going to be a very effective play against this particular defense, Jim, if Simon will break up in the middle.
Simon, shot blocked by Njai.
Nice decision by Shamgar.
Brown short on the 3, but inside. Thomas walking.
That was Davison on a tremendous recovery.
Coming up, Pennzoil at the half. Pat O'Brien, George Raveling, Clark Kellogg, and Mike Krzyzewski. The committee will bring you the latest tournament news and more. Pennzoil at the half. A minute 40 away.
I think Thomas getting a little tired out there, Jim, and he's the best pure shooter they've got from the wings. You get tired, it really takes away that jump shot.
Dickerson averaging 20 with only 2 today.
What's happening to Arizona is they basically are setting up 2-3, matching right with what the zone is. They need to have an odd man out front, make the zone adjust.
They have matched, well, now actually they've exceeded now the turnover total from Friday night against Kansas. And they had only 11.
Shammgod making excellent decisions out here so far today, Jim. Not trying to force the game. There's his third jumper.
Too strong on the 3. Davison climbs for the rebound. Jason Murdoch, number 3, in for Providence. Simon, long-range 3. And gives Arizona the lead by 1. They had missed their last 6 from behind the arc before that one.
They're going to have to give up the ball here is Providence.
Brown cutting to the basket. Take it away, they say. No basket. Charge.
Isn't it amazing how fast Shammgod can go and stop on a dime so that he doesn't get called for the charge? He goes in there, just pivots back around. Excellent play by Simon.
And Bibby right there to hold the ground.
There's about 0.2 of a second difference between the shot clock and the game clock, so Arizona going to pull it right back down, go a little Bibby hold the ball here and make the zone come after him.
Seconds. Simon, pass deflected.
That was supposed to be a lob for Davison coming in behind the defense. Now, look out for Shammgod, Jim. There's 3.6 seconds, and he's quick enough to take it the length of the floor. How many times have we seen this?
No foul called on that against Davison. It's just off
Too late.
the Wildcat.
Couldn't get him the ball.
Thomas off the mark. Arizona relinquished an 8-point lead at one time. Providence turned around, went in front by 4. But a Simon three-pointer gives Arizona the 1-point advantage at halftime.
And Jim, if you're Lute Olson, you want this halftime because there's a lot of diagramming that's going to have to be done as to how they want to attack the 2-3 zone.
Let's head it over to Craig James. Craig?
Coach, Billy Packer's been talking about you guys trying to get the ball inside. What do you need to do to get the ball inside on offense?
Yeah, we're just far too impatient against the zone. We've got to probe the zone, have the inside guys step into the gaps because we've got them where we want them. They're spread out all over the floor, but then we're not looking for the inside guys.
Are you pleased with the performance of your defense inside, somewhat shutting down Crozier?
Well, Bennett Davison is going to create problems for a big guy because he's so quick. And actually, Crozier's only basket, I think, the three-pointer came when our 5-man had switched out onto him. So Bennett's done a good job. That part is fine. We've got to do a better job offensively.
All right, thank you very much, Coach. All right, back to you, Jim.
That man has never lost a regional final in his career, 3-0. And he's 1 point in front, looking for one last spot to Indianapolis. 32-31 Arizona. CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA basketball tournament will continue after this message.